Good afternoon to you all. Thank you for being here. I see the president of the ULS already in. Welcome, Mrs. Fiona Nabasa-Wall. We're grateful and very honored to have you here. To our other key speakers, yes, panelists for the day are also around, Miss Florida Kabasinga, Linda Bonyo, thank you very much for being here. But to start off, especially for the panelists, we are going to request that you have your videos on, because that way the people in the gallery are able to interact with you. So Linda and Florida, kindly have your videos on. I also request Her Excellency to have hers on so that we can begin this.
I am about to turn mine on. I'm just fixing something and then I'll...
Okay.
Ethan.
As we wait for our host for the day to join, we're going to begin and ball rolling for the seminar, for the webinar rather. I'd like to also recognize David Sigano, who has helped us organize this webinar. David, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Annabelle. Sorry, I may not be able to turn on my video now. My internet is not really perfect.
Yes.
I can see Mariam on the call, but she's among the general membership. Let me just try to have her upgraded to panelist so that
yes,
she's able to host this.
Because she keeps calling me, so it's a bit distracting on my end. So if you could help me sort her.
Okay, I'm handling it. Let me just handle it. Meanwhile, you can continue with the other segments of the webinar.
Okay, so to start this off, this is going to be most of a conversation with our panelists. So we are going to keep engaging the people that have tuned in to have more of a conversation feel, and not just for it to sound like or feel like this is a speech or something. So our topic for today is why hiring and advancing women in leadership roles attracts top talent, improves company and law firm cultures. So our panelists have been given sort of focus areas on the topic that they will each address. After every panelist, we shall open, we shall answer a few questions. If any, feel free to either raise your hand or to send in your question via the Q&A option. And so we will be able to ask any questions after each panelist, just to give that question answer field discussion aspect of it. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, Mariam, you're welcome.
Thank you, Annabelle.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm very sorry. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Annabelle. You've done a very good job. Mariam Babal is my name. My apologies. This tech world is taking us by storm, but we are catching up slowly but surely. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Annabelle, for sitting in for those minutes. You're very most welcome, everybody that has logged in. Let's dive in. Our topic for today is why hiring and advancing women in leadership roles attracts top talent in our companies. Research has shown that companies with the highest percentages of women, female ladies, attract big revenue, high equity and retention in their companies. According to very many reports, women that make up at least 15 in senior management positions, 15% in the female positions, that company is most likely to generate at least 50% of their revenue. And we want to dissect it today and find out why. Why is it so? My name is Mariam. I'm the vice chairperson of the East Africa Law Society, and I'm happy to have the East Africa's finest with me this afternoon. I wish everybody's video was on. I can see Linda, the tech guru, is shying away from the video. But yes, we'll invite our keynote speaker to tell us. Our keynote speaker today is a very beautiful, gorgeous lady who is no longer, is just imagine leading an institution that's headed where people think that they are the smartest. You have over 2,000 lawyers and you lead them and you're the lady. My speaker today sits as a board member on numerous organizations, and she has wowed them with her charisma and her high intellect in the legal fraternity. And that's none other than my president, Miss Fiona Nabasa War. So Miss Fiona War, the gorgeous Fiona, kindly tell us, why is it that in the public sector, what is your feel when they engage a lady? Do you think they get more talent or they get less? What's your feel in the public sector? Thank you, Fiona, and you're most welcome. Fiona, you can unmute, please. Sorry, I dived in before they introduced you, but you can give us the keynote speak, and then we shall introduce other speakers. Fiona,
Okay.
you can unmute.
Our Vice President of the East African East African Law Society Women, the Secretary and other council members present, the speakers, the other speakers, ladies and gentlemen in your different capacities, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Mariam, for that raving introduction. I hope I meet your expectations. And yes, today I feel like I am in very awing company with the finest indeed from East Africa. I'm not sure I stand in that group, but I'm very honored and very intimidated to be doing the keynote here. But this is a topic that I'm very passionate about, having worked in the public sector for about 15 years now. Yes, I totally agree with the theme today. Hiring and promoting women indeed transforms the public sector and any other organization, law firms, and this is why I believe it is so. I believe that, of course, historically, we need to understand and welcome and embrace, not maybe welcome, but embrace the fact that women were never really meant for these positions. So for a long time, institutions were not prepared for women. And they're not prepared for women, not because women are a strange species from another planet, but because women are wired very differently from men. And therefore, it was a foreign environment for them to work in because of how they are wired. As we speak right now, anthropologists have seen that instead of hiding our differences, you know, in the workplace, everybody wants you to look the same, your offices should look the same, everything should look the same. And companies like Google have really blown it out of proportion by showing that celebrating our differences and embracing them and enhancing them is what is going to get that jigsaw puzzle to fit. So we've seen companies, indeed, even companies like Google, Facebook are now hiring women in that top echelon because of what they can bring to the table. What can they bring to the table? First of all, women, all women, including the fabulous, very confident Mariam Babali, suffer from a bit of an imposter syndrome. Why? Because women have always felt that they needed to deserve something. So when you give them something, they want to work harder, they want to earn it, they want to, they will overstudy for it, they will ask for help, they will look for mentors, they'll look for teachers. And we've seen this among, and it comes, I think, from the fact that they're willing to admit that there is more that they can learn. So an imposter syndrome is usually quoted by great women as a problem. I've had Michelle Obama talk about it. I've had Angela Merkel talk about it. I've had the women that you'd never expect, Clinton speak about it. One of the things that they speak about is how terrible it is, and you know, but I believe that if we did not have the imposter syndrome, we would not drive ourselves as hard as we do to qualify and to deserve where we are at. When you have a staff member who is working very hard to deserve the place you've given them, it's very likely that they're going to actually excel and overperform. So they give more than the usual. The second thing is resilience. Women are born with a natural resilience. I think it's because from the time we're children, we are so open and aware of the problems and issues in our homes, of the problems and issues in the workplace. We also go through a lot. I mean, having to go through labor, having to bleed every month, sorry to be graphic, having to do certain things just to survive, putting on all that makeup and looking the way you do every day is hard work. It's painful to comb your hair every day. But I think that increases our resilience. So you find that organizations that have more women have actually been proven to be more resilient. What does resilience mean here? It means that you're going to have an organization that is going to face a crisis. Maybe there'll be a depression in the economy. Maybe there'll be anything that can hit the economy. COVID. We've seen countries that are led by women in this crisis actually go through. If you Google, you're going to find that Germany was shining during COVID. You're going to find that Uganda was shining because of, okay, yes, our president, yes, very well, yes. But our Ministry of Health has been led by women, you know, and we've done very well as a country. I know right now that the numbers look really terrible, but we spent about a whole 8 months shining in the whole world. Us, with our simple country, with our problems in the health sector and everything, we were still managing COVID because we had women at the helm. They managed to get through, they sail through, they shine in crisis. Women naturally shine in crisis. I think we're built for crisis. So resilience is another thing. The other thing is institutions that are led by women or departments that are led by women are intuitive because women are intuitive. A woman will see danger coming a long way away. A woman will smell trouble coming. A woman will understand when an employee is not performing because of something personal, not because they are unable to or they're unqualified. That's why human resource managers usually want to employ women when it comes to departments or services that require women at the helm. I'll give you an example of National Water, the brand I love and I work for. When I joined in 2007, I was, National Water had about 2 women on the board and only 1 on top management. And it was very male, and it was an engineering organization, and we're not doing well. And in 2009, we started a campaign of, you know, let's put our customers first. Let's front good customer care. We started hiring more and more women. As I speak, we're now 50-50 almost. But you find that eventually the organization realized the value of women. And as we speak, almost all the branches in Kampala, about 33 of them are led by women. And this is because it has proven that our organization is very intuitive. It's very, it anticipates customer needs. It manages client needs. It does that +1. And I'd recommend all the women here to read Raving Funds by Ken Blanchard. It's really a book about how intuitive organizations can manage crisis, can manage growth in difficult times. And that makes them adaptive as well. Then the one weakness that women have that I believe is a strength in the workplace I know that a lot has changed and some values have been lost, but women tend to be over authentic or over honest. They do not like to hide their faults. And one of the things that I think characterizes organizations that are led by women or that have a lot of women in them is that those organizations will usually most often tell the truth. I'll give an example of why telling the truth and being an authentic organization matters. In 1980, Tylenol, Johnson & Johnson produced Tylenol, and the Tylenol was causing serious medical side effects. And they pulled it off. They just declared that, yes, our product is faulty. They pulled it off the shelves. They made losses. But the sales of Tylenol, the sales of Johnson & Johnson's products across the board increased by 40% because of honesty. I do not know whether there's a woman at the top, but that's an organization that is honest, that people trust, and that speaks to the bottom line. The second thing that I'll give an example of is Dell, the computer company. Dell is a huge multinational company. I think you all know it. You probably are all using Dells, but one customer care officer was very rude to a very clever customer, and the customer recorded this rude conversation and then put it on social media. They lost sales that year by 30%, just rudeness. You understand what I mean? So the thing about women sometimes a little more patient with clients, a little more honest with clients, and that increases the trust of the people in the organization. And that is why I feel that client-facing jobs are sometimes better given to women or to men who are in touch with the emotional side of themselves. Now, women have a low risk appetite. Now, a low risk appetite would be bad if you are in the business world, dog world. And I think one of the things I'm happy with is because women are so adaptable, they've learned to take calculated risks. A woman in the boardroom will ask about the risks, will ask about the costs, will ask about the potential losses, and will ask about the reputational impact of a project, while a man will look at the numbers. I'm now stereotyping, please allow me to do this. And because of that, you find that low risk, not that, of course, the higher the risk, the higher the returns, right? But also the higher the losses should you go wrong. Now, what happens with the curve of the growth of an organization led with a woman is that it will be steady progress upwards. But you find maybe for a man, it will, go upwards like, at 90 degrees and maybe come down on the same angle. So one of the things that organizations have noticed is that it's very good for women because they're very good risk managers. Another reason they're very good is because of their adaptability. They're able to make the organization improve its risk appetite and increase it, but at a level that allows growth and protects the organization. The last thing I'll talk about is the high adversity quotient. In the boardroom, they used to want a high IQ. And I think men kind of beat us there because they're very logical and they've trained their IQ. If you imagine your brain to be two children, there's one half, yes, at adolescence, your brain splits into two when you're a man. One is logical, the other is emotional. For women, it's one big mess. And you find that for a man at puberty, because of what they're experiencing, because what they're exposed to, they grow their logos, they grow their logic. They grow. So you find that this side of the brain is so big compared to the emotional one. Of course, these days there are men who are so in tune with their, we say female side, but it's not really a female side. It's just they're in touch with the emotions and they have what we call emotional intelligence. Now, in the boardroom, they realized that it wasn't enough to have PhD holders, to have excellent people, because you can have a PhD holder who can tie his shoelaces. How can he lead? You know, but we need somebody with emotional intelligence, that somebody who's going to get into the boardroom and assess the environment and get this board to do what they need to do, or to speak as one body. And they found that the creatures that seem to have natural emotional intelligence are women. Then the third thing they realized is that, oh my God, when we get into the millennials, when we get into these people who press buttons and get their takeaway, we have a problem with resilience. We have a problem with adversity quotient. So now organizations are hiring people with a high adversity quotient, and guess who has a normally inborn high adversity quotient? Women. That's why it's been proved that widows live longer than widowers, because of that, the ability to adapt, the ability to survive. And if you have people that are running your organization and they have these strengths, then I think, so what I'm trying to say here is the way women lead actually improves the bottom line. High retention is because the staff and the customers trust the organization. High performance is because of the power of inspiration. I will end with this. Simon Sinek writes about why. He has a book that says, start with why. Every great leader in the world that has ever inspired a multitude of people to do anything has started with the reason. Now, I think that women leaders usually lead with their why. Mariam will come to me and sell to me her vision for the women of East African Law Society, and she'll say, I feel. We used to be rejected in the boardroom because we're leading with our feelings, we're leading with our hearts, we're leading with our passions. But you see, when you are failing over and over again, which is bound to happen if you're on a road to success, you are going to, it's that passion that is your why that is going to take you through those failures and keep you going on that road. It's what is going to make people believe in you. Because you see, Dell, and I'll quote an example Simon Sinek uses, a company like Dell has been creating computers, making computers forever. And then they come and tell you we can make a computer or we can make a watch. Why don't people? Sorry, Mariam, you're muted. Time? You're talking about time?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Yeah, I'm just ending. I was saying that, yeah, so Dell is a big brand and is producing computers, but why don't people buy phones from Dell? Because they tried and they failed. Why don't people buy TVs from Dell? They tried and they failed. Why? Because Dell tells you, this is a computer, this is Dell, buy it. But what Apple tells you, we produce the coolest gadgets in the world. If you use our gadget, you're at a certain class. So that is why Apple will produce even a cooker and you'll buy it, you know? So yes, I'm sure Mariam right now has already booked her next iPhone. So this is the power of why, and women naturally sell it. So I'm not here really to campaign for women. I'm just saying that in my organization, in National Water, in my organization, in Uganda Law Society, where we have, 50-50 women, in every organization that I've worked with, where I have found women, and even successful countries that I've seen led by women, these are the things we've found that women have, and how they lead should be encouraged. We should not get into the boardroom and try to be like men, because we have such solid products and attributes to contribute to the success and to the bottom line of any organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fiona. You had her. You want resilience, authenticity, honesty. You need a woman in your organization. But before I move on, let me invite my co-host to tell you more about our panelists, because you might be thinking, who are these ladies? Who told them they can speak to that? Let me invite the co-host, Miss Annabelle Mwesige. Kindly introduce the ladies, and we may have a Q&A after. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miriam. I've noted a few of the questions that have been posed for Fiona Wall. There was a hand up. I see it has been removed. Please let it remain, because I'm going to bring the questions in after I make this introduction. So like Mariam said earlier, these are very established, very well put together ladies who have blessed us with their time and have really are, for lack of a better word, established in this area, and they'll be able to give us guidance on the above. So I'm going to begin with Miss Linda Bonyo, who is from Kenya. She's a respected tech lawyer and a licensed attorney of the High Court of Kenya. She is the CEO and founder of Lawyers Hub, which is headquartered in Kenya. She founded, just briefly about the foundation, TechLaw is an organization serving Global South on digital policy and justice innovation by providing innovative and technological-driven solutions to policy and legal practice. She's a Tech Women Law Fellow, Tech Women Fellow 2020, a member of the Real Facebook Oversight Board, and was globally awarded a Good ID Community Champion in 2020 on privacy. Please welcome Ms. Linda Bonyo. Our second, well, first, I forgot to mention this earlier. We had 5 panelists today, but Miss Asha Sabrina Ayub was not able to make it. She's a little bit under the weather and is not able to be here. She's very sorry, but she could not make it today. She promised to come the next time to make it up to us, actually. So our other panelist was Sabrina Ayub, who is a partner at Bowman's, the Tanzania, the Dar es Salaam office. We also have Miss Florida Kabasinga. You may have seen her earlier, her video was on. She is a Rwanda legal practitioner, the founder and managing partner of SATA Law. Please correct me if I mentioned, if I pronounced that wrongly.
You're doing perfectly well.
Oh, okay. She has almost 2 decades of experience in the field of international criminal law and domestic, commercial, and criminal justice in Rwanda. She practiced on the international legal circuit, where she held a various positions both at trial and appeals level within the office of the prosecutor of the United Nations International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. She holds a bachelor's law degree from Makerere University in Uganda, a master's law degree in international human rights law from the University of Notre Dame in Indiana, USA. Her profile, for lack of, is extremely extensive. If I was to just read the entire thing, would spend a cool 30 minutes. So I really just, I apologize for that. I picked out just a few things, but her profile, wow. Our other speaker is Ms. Sandra Kimyovu. Again, I apologize if I pronounced the name wrongly. Please correct me if at all it's wrong. She is a young entrepreneur from Burundi, gifted in the organization's event and talented in negotiations and business opportunities. She is currently the managing director and founder of All in Business Services, which is AIOS in shorten it. She steers and coordinates a lot of branch activities with the organization and other various departments. And she's also serving as a vice president of Burundi Cycling Federation and a member of International Union of Cycling. Mariam,
Yes,
Mariam,
please.
kindly unmute. I have finished introducing our speakers. I think you had already introduced our keynote speaker, so I did not read up. I don't know if you feel like we should we? Because you had
okay.
already done a very
That's
good.
our president.
I will,
okay.
let me do out of respect. And all right, Mrs. Fiona Nawasa Gladys Wall, thank you very much for being here and being our keynote speaker. She's an advocate of the High Court of Uganda with over 15 years of post-enrollment experience. She holds a bachelor's law degree and a diploma in legal practice and an MBA in management. She is a governance professional and public relations practitioner, currently serving as the senior manager, legal services at the National Water and Sewage Corporation, a position she has held since June 2014. She is also currently serving as a president of Uganda Law Society, as Mariam had earlier introduced, and previously served as the secretary, vice president, and chairperson of the Legal Aid and Pro Bono Project of Uganda Law Society. You're welcome very much. Thank you so much to all the panelists for being here and for accepting our invites. So Mariam, I'm going to go straight to the questions that were posed earlier for our keynote speaker. The first one was from Nandase Judith, who asked, how are we young women going to be helped, because there are very many walls that hinder us and stop us from reaching our potential. Mrs. Wall, I don't know how you want us to do this. Do you want me to read each question, or do you want me to read all of them at once, or we'll go one at a go?
Please read all of them at once so that I just address them once to save time.
Okay. The other question was from Scholar, who wanted to know the book title that you recommended earlier. We have two hands up, one from Rebecca Mugabe. Rebecca, kindly unmute and ask your question. Rebecca? Rebecca, kindly unmute. I see your hand up. Okay, there is Farida Bukira also, whose hand is up. Kindly unmute and ask your question.
Yes, thank you very much. My question goes to the President, Ms. Fiona Wall, who worked in the public sector for 15 years. And my question is, I also work in the public sector, and as you might be aware, there are some things that might not go well in compliance with the law. Government is a complex animal, and as lawyers, we face very many challenges. Sometimes you try to apply your emotional intelligence and your virtues of patience, but sometimes the system is so huge and cruel that you may not succeed. In her 15 years in the public sector, how did she go about standing up as a lawyer and going against the forces of non-compliance with the law? Thank you.
Thank you, Farida. The next person is Praise. Praise, kindly unmute your question, rather your mic, and ask your question. Praise.
Hello, yes. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for this webinar. It is so timely. I appreciate my president's submission in as regards the resilience of women, being achievers, being good risk managers. However, there is something that has always bothered me over the years in academic institutions, in the employment and workplace. As women, we are supposed to be, it would really be good that we uphold each other, we cheer up each other, and we should actually be encouraging each other in leadership and in these power positions that most of us occupy. But surprisingly, and I have heard it from my friends, I have personally experienced it, women versus women, it is not easy for women to work with fellow women. In most organizations, even in academic institutions. Personally, there's a time when I had a challenge, and I actually thought that since the person whom I was going to present it before was a woman, she would best understand it, because I had, let me disclose, I was expecting my baby, and I was scheduled for a cesarean operation, and I could not do my exams. So the school actually allowed me to have special exams. But that woman, my fellow woman, said she could not set for me the exam, and yet I thought that was the person who was going to understand. So the challenge is, yes, please.
Kindly get to the question, please. Thank you.
Now, the question, it's not a question per se, but it is a challenge that I would want us to look into. Why is it so difficult for women to uplift fellow women? Because we are supposed to understand each other's challenges best more than the males. but sometimes you feel it is better to appear before a man or contact a man or consult a man than a fellow woman. And it is so challenging. Thank you very much.
Praise. Your comment is observed. Thank you. Let us invite the president. Madam Fiona, kindly answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you. The questions are many, but I'm going to try and address them. I'll start with Praise's issue. Very right, very true. And I saw Deepa Verma also commenting on the same. Why do women scratch other women in the workplace? And I just want to say, first of all, the laws of nature, like poles repel sometimes. We have to accept that. The other thing I also want to say is that I'm going to say some very unpopular things here. I hope I have the grace. Is that when you're working in an environment and you're all women, sometimes even your biological clocks start becoming in tune. And there are so many things in the workplace that sometimes bring out the worst in us. As I told you from the beginning, the workplace is a bit of an alien thing for us. So I need to ask women to embrace each other the way we are. Because yes, and I'm going to use the cat to use an example. When you get a really beautiful cat, you get a cat that has very soft paws, but under those paws, there are claws. And I need you to love other women and accept their claws. There's always that claw that's going to come out. And yes, I have personally experienced the worst of both worlds. I also had a boss who actually denied me maternity leave. Ridiculous, right? And I really suffered a lot. And then, you know, I've gone through some really weird women, okay, not weird, but really mean women, bosses, that would rather die than see you get ahead. Then I have been, and I'll tell you very, very, my first two bosses were women, and I'll give Theo Wevale credit, Legal Aid Clinic. She used to throw me into the deep end. Before I finished law school, I had even trained judges in legal aid, in things, and I had a CV because Theo believed in me. We have somebody like Honorable Maria Chwanka. She was my boss for 5 years, and she kept throwing me in the deep end, taking a 25-year-old before the minister and making her defend a whole organization. That was amazing. Of course, at the time, I used to think she was really mean to push me into those spaces, but she drove me because she thought I should do it. I should squeeze myself and do it. So when I joined public relations, I went to PRAO and I found people like Sheila Kangwaje, Helen. These people, these women pushed me up, led me to even getting into the leadership of the organization. In the law society, I've been mentored by women. So there are women that are going to push you. There are women that are going to give you what you need. Look for them. Look for Mariam, look for Annabelle, look for, you know, Florida. Look for these women. Do not just keep your eyes on the woman who's ruining your life. The second thing is get the men champions. Usually on top of that woman or beside her, there are male champions that see your value. But then even if you are a woman leader, I always challenge people that if you're a woman leader and you have a position, be jealous about it for other women. Which woman are you mentoring to take over? When you get a new secretary in your office, are you looking at her nail polish or are you looking at improving her performance? Sometimes we get lost in the detail. This is how she dresses, this is how she behaves, she's embarrassing me. No man ever walks into a boardroom and says that man is embarrassing me by how he's behaving. They look at performance. So I think that two-pronged approach, yes. Let's look for mentors that will support us. Let's be deliberate about that. Let's also be very deliberate about making sure every time I've left a job, apart from, I think I've actually never been replaced by a man. I'm very proud to say I have mentored women to take over from me, apart from maybe in the law society. Oh, no. Now we have two women in those positions. But the thing is— Thank you. So in the last story, as a senior, someone talked about, Judith was asking about how to help. I was talking about that. Get yourself into these places, identify a mentor. Then I liked Farida Bukira's question about compliance, bringing your EQ in there and then the politics suffocating it. It's been very frustrating, as you'd expect, but one thing I've found that is valuable is build your brand. Let people know what you stand for. They will even dodge you. They'll even keep away the difficult things from you. They'll find ways around you. And then I always say, pick your fights. You don't have to fight with everybody over everything because you're principled. You have to be able to accept people as they come and only pick the fights that are really core to your values and to the values of your organization. That way you will limit the friction and maybe you might survive a little longer. But it is also okay to fail. It's okay to say, no, I have had enough and walk away. I just always encourage women never to compromise because somehow when we fall, our fall seems so much harder because we're still on our way up. The men arrived already. They can afford a fall or two. So let's keep our values, but let's pick our fights.
Thank you, Madam Fiona. I can see there's a Madam Rosemary Najemba thinks that women are failing to support fellow women is a sign of lack of confidence in themselves. Thank you for that comment. I see all the comment section blowing up. But in the interest of time, I'll remind all of you participants that our theme for today is enhancing leadership in women. And why is it that hiring them brings the top talent into corporates and companies and they yield more from women? That's our theme for today. So our next speaker, Ms. Sandra from Burundi. She's an entrepreneur, she's not a lawyer. There she is. Ms. Sandra from Burundi is an entrepreneur with a vast, wide experience in that field. And she's here to tell us, to give us tips. What are those tips that will boost you and you see yourself as a lady on top and very relevant to the company you represent? Thank you. Let me invite Ms. Sandra. The floor is yours. Thank you. Kindly unmute.
Yes, sorry. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure and honor to be here to share my experience and especially when it's about enhancing women, I'm always ready and I'm happy to do that. First of all, I don't know if I should go straight to the questions, Annabelle. Should I read all the questions and reply at the same time? I don't know how you become doing that.
Sandra, you are just going to focus on your focus area like we discussed earlier, just yours.
Okay, then. Thank you. About I'm supposed to talk about the gender and the role of the gender in entrepreneurship. So my view is everyone, either men or women, we can be entrepreneurship. We can do the entrepreneurship. The difference is just that women are not seen as men, although in the society, just because of in the society, women are not well respected, and they don't have, they don't give them the value that they are supposed to have. But personally, as an entrepreneur, I might share some experiences with you or with everyone that women are supposed to show what they value if they are doing the entrepreneurship. They're supposed to show, they are themselves who are supposed to convince people to show them what they are able to do, although they face many, many challenges. So since the women can do the same thing as men in the, let's say, for example, in the risk, by taking risk, by being a good managers, why not being entrepreneur? That's it's our role. It's as you are saying, as Fiona was saying, it's our big role to motivate, to encourage women to start entrepreneurship and to focus on what they want to do exactly. Because I know we are able and we can do that. I'll go to the prejudices that we are facing. Personally, I can give you some examples that when you are a woman and you want to go, for example, for a market, when you want to do some deals, you might meet men and then they will be surprised to see that you are a woman, and they're going to see you as not a woman who are doing business, but just women that with whom they can go to have a drink or something like that, which is not really interesting or which is not encouraging. They don't really trust you can do that. So most of the time I used to really have to be tough. Although I'm not supposed, but I really have to be tough to show them that I'm focused on my business and that's what I really want, you see. And that's what when I'm coaching some women, some young girls, that's what I do. I as Fiona said, some of them lack confidence. So that's most of the time, when someone is saying that you don't have confidence in what you are doing, it can sometimes push people not to trust you. Like banks, if you go to ask for a loan, they will say she doesn't have confidence in what she's doing, so they will not give you have access. You won't have access to a financial loan, which is also a prejudice. Which will stop. It will not allow women to start their business. And the society as well is something which is not really helping us as women, because in the society, most of our culture is, especially in Africa or in Burundi, in our culture, you're not supposed, when you are a woman, you're supposed to be a housewife, which is supposed to stay home, look after the kid, and then you cook for your family. You're not supposed to do something, to do businesses or to entrepreneur, to do some business or any kind of work which is supposed to ask you to leave home and not to stay home and then look after your family. So when you try to do that, it's like you are strange, you are behaving not correctly. Although you are doing that for your family, because most of our women, they do entrepreneurship, they start to do something because of there is a need. It's not just because they just want to do that, just because they see that there is a need. Most of the time, men are not able to fulfill the needs of the family. So when the woman is really in, she wants to do some business or she wants to start entrepreneurship, it's not because of she wants to be maybe independent, just because she sees that there is a need and she wants to help the family. I would say that there are even women who are not married, but they do that because they have to fulfill the needs of their kids. There are many examples of women who've got only 10,000, but she will do the business and she will manage to fulfill all the needs of their kids. But if you do that, some women are facing problems, especially I would say for security matters. When you are in the evening and you're still looking after to sell your bananas or something, you might get to insecurity. No, in Africa, sometimes it's not safe to go around in the night. So there are many problems that women are.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Sandra. Sandra thinks that we should value ourselves, we should identify our strengths, and we should know who we are as we go on in the world. Thank you, Sandra. I don't know if we're still continuing, but in the interest of time, thank you, Sandra.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you so much. Sandra has identified we need to know our strengths, we need to know our values, and we need to stand up for what we are. So our next key speaker has dominated the world where we all thought was male dominated. She is the chairperson of the Kenya Technology Hub. She's none other than Linda Bonyo. Let me invite Linda to tell us how many lawyers and female have occupied the technology space in Kenya and in other areas where you've interacted, and how do you do it? What's your contribution to the entrepreneurs? Linda, kindly share us your story, and we'll be happy to see you on video. You're most welcome, Linda.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mariam and Annabelle. We really appreciate the invite together with the committee. Please don't judge me because I'm in a hoodie. I'm working from home. I know more than the hoodie. So yeah, I'm just gonna, just begin from even there, just the way we dress, and, we are dressed in the same way. I have desired to, succeed so much that I can just wear a hoodie like Mark Zuckerberg used to wear to, to meetings, and nobody minds him just because he's done so much, and so they just break all the rules for him. I think that's a really great place to be at in life, where people can break rules for you and say, you can come in whatever you want. So that's the level of, a success I'm really hoping for someday. But my name is Linda Bonyo, and I wanted to just clarify that I am the CEO at the Lawyers Hub. The Lawyers Hub is currently in Kenya. We hope to get everywhere, soon, and to make it a global company. I founded it in 2017 as an idea, and we wanted to fix the gap between law and technology. We thought that, not enough lawyers were in the tech space, and we also saw that, not enough techies were involved in policy. And so we tried to, cover that gap. And so we opened the Innovation Hub and work closely with, technologists. And, it's been quite the ride. So the entrepreneurs in the room, you know what that means. It's really, really hard to set up your own, your own venture and have it work. It takes blood, sweat, and tears. I think what I'm gonna just talk about is maybe not to highlight the problems, but maybe to make a few comments on just my experience. I think it's great to hire women. At the Lawyers Hub, we are 80%, women, and everything that we have, we used to feel inadequate about, like, this person wants to have a conversation with a man so that they feel like, it's working. We've sort of killed that. And also, I remember the very first, months of setting up the Lawyers Hub. We are in a big space. It's about 3,000 square feet. And so the first month, somebody asked me, so who are you dating within the legal profession that, offered this particular amount of money to set up this space? And I laughed and laughed and laughed. And so, a few weeks later, I had a conversation with someone else who explained to me how the legal profession works. Especially in Kenya, you need a godfather who is a man who's doing well. They'll buy your car, they'll take you to another country to do your master's, and then you come back and, so I didn't have that, and I don't have that still. But I think for me, it's just, ambition and, a really supportive community around me that has helped to get me there. So I think one of the things that I would advise in beginning is, I say this: if you feel like you're an imposter, just begin. Because sometimes we feel like an imposter because you think you don't have your master's degree, you don't have, this and that. Whatever it is, I think just begin. One of the things I learned, and this I can share now, when we began, I went to the landlord and asked them, can I get into this space? And they told me, how much do you have? I told them. They said, no, that's little money. And then they told me that I need to, they said that I need to get 3 months deposit and 3 months rent. I didn't have that because that was a lot of money. And so I told them I only had 3 months deposit. I didn't have even the rent. So they needed to choose whether it's going to be deposit or rent. And so they told me that won't work. So I went away. 3 months later, I came back, the space was still empty. So I told them, you see, at least I would have, owed you money. Now you have no one in this space. And so they asked me to come in and pay that money, in installments. And that's how I began, running the space, which has really been, the fact that you should begin. If you want to add weight or lose weight or, study, just begin today. I think for me, that's one of the ways in which I fight imposter syndrome, that I simply look at it as a weakness and say, what if I started learning this thing? And I remember one of the things that I did a few years ago was I'd go to a conference and I hear people speaking and I'd be like, I know more than what they're saying on stage. Like, I can talk about these things. And so I had a diary. I wrote and said, it's June 2021, 23rd of June. Next year, I must speak at that conference. I'll not wait for them to invite me. I am going to write to them and ask them if I can do a session. And so I did that in 2017. And in 2018, I actually started now speaking at different places. You know, I went to Rwanda, I went to Paris. Like, it just opened up the world for me. The other second thing that I've read is really closely related. There's a book by Shonda Rhimes. She's the one who did, you know, the series Scandal and, you know, all the series that we love. And she has a book called The Year of Yes. I read that book in 2018 and I was super, super inspired. She said that most of us say no to opportunities. And I read this book when I had been invited on TV to discuss some political opinion, which I thought I wasn't the right person to do it, but also my hair was looking really bad. And so I said, I'm not going for this conversation. And so the TV producer called me later on and told me, Linda, you're just like the other women. They don't come on the show because their nails are bad, their hair is bad. And he told me, you need to always be ready for a TV interview. If you get any opportunity for media exposure, take it. And so these days, when I'm called for a TV show, unless it's not the subject matter, like I don't understand the subject matter, I don't go for it. But if it's anything on law and technology, I will show up. And he told me this formula. He told me men know that the general public do not know these things. And I have a friend of mine who goes on TV frequently. He doesn't know the things he's talking about, but before he goes on the show, he calls a few people who tell him, you need to talk like this, and he knows the highlights. But your grandmother who's watching that TV show is in awe of him, and is like, you don't know this famous lawyer, but that lawyer was your classmate, and maybe he used to do so poorly in school, but he's just known how to brand. The other thing I think I'm going to talk about from, you know, please read the book, The Year of Yes. It's by Shonda Rhimes. I will write it on the chat. The second thing I read, another book that really changed how I view, you know, so that people don't view me as a woman, but as a professional, is the book Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. She's the, I don't know that she's the vice president at Facebook, but she's really close to Mark Zuckerberg and they work on strategy together. So that book, Lean In, she says this about when you go to meetings. So she says, when you go to a meeting and the chair is on the other side, like she says, mirror the chairperson of the meeting. So that was pre-COVID, and said women normally sit near the door to show that, oh, maybe I'm leaving early, or, you know, I'm not interested. They sit really far from the chair. And so these days when I go to a meeting and it's a physical meeting, I will mirror the chair. And so when the chair says something, the chairperson will always want feedback. So you need to give that feedback and say, you know what? This is what I think. They will give you an opportunity. But if you sit at the corner and hope that, you know, people will listen to you, they'll treat it as rumors. Or sometimes you'll say it at the corner and then somebody will say it loudly. The one who's mirroring the chair will say it loudly and saying, yes, the answer is osmosis. So it looks like they're the ones who came up with the idea, but it is you who came up with the idea, but you're not sitting at the center where decisions are made. So I think that second book on Lean In is a really great one. The third point I'm going to make is, somebody said this, men love themselves. Men are always about positions and interests. Men are like political parties. Political parties, there are no friends in politics. It's simply, the position is that this election, we must win. This is what we need to do. And I think that women need to play the same game, that you simply look at interest. Don't look at other women to be your best friend or to be, you know, your lifelong partner. I think they just need to understand that they're getting what they want and you're also getting what you want, so that it's a give and take. And these positions get us to sort of yes. If you read the books on negotiation, it's the same way. Do you give me a position that I want and I give you a position that you want? I think that's really, really important. And I like what, you know, the President Fiona talked about, you know, about men, and she made these period jokes. I have a lot of period jokes, and this is what I say. How did we get to the point where, as women, we can't publicly talk about, especially the older, you know, millennials and above, and the boomers, we can't talk about our periods because it's such a sensitive topic. Yet men can talk about, you know, things and, you know, and they're not, you know, vilified for it. And somebody said there's two things that I think are really important to think about. The first one, he said, someone said, imagine if men were in charge of periods, it would have been a subscription service where you can subscribe and duck. The second thing I had somebody say was that, if we had a choice, whether to have periods or not, then they would choose to lay eggs every month, and then this story is finished. I found the innovation around these ideas coming from men really, really interesting. And I said this, if men were in charge of periods, we would have figured out a vaccine that would enable us not to have period cramps. I'm saying that because the world is very paternalistic. And so women are not getting the solutions to the problem we face at the workplace, the problems around pregnancy, the problems around childbirth and things on ovulation and things like that. But I realized that men would look for what's a problem for us, and they will fix it. So how do we get to fixing the problems that really exist for us? The final point I'm going to make, I think, on this particular discussion, and I brought the period points to just say that somebody normalized the fact that we don't need to talk about these things on public spaces. So what can we do as women, I think, to get to the next level of growth and to be hired? I think number one, with COVID, you have no choice but to digitize. You need to digitize to get on these online spaces where decisions are being made. I see hiring decisions made on LinkedIn. I would give an example now, and just maybe how I try to brand myself. In 2017, I wanted people to get to know me as a tech lawyer. I didn't have a lot of experience in the area, but I was very interested in the area. And I knew a few people abroad who are doing this issue. And so a friend of mine who does PR told me, Linda, don't post anything on social media unless it's about law and technology. So whether I'm posting about food on Instagram, I will tie it to my organization, or I will tie it to my brand. And that means then that it's on people's mind. You're top of mind every single day when they think about arbitration. They know it's who is in charge of arbitration. And so the first thing that you must do is to really build your brand to ensure that you come top of mind for people every single day. And I'll give you research. If I post on WhatsApp groups for the lawyers, and I'm sharing a poster on our event, I am very sure that in a few minutes, I'm going to get 3 or 4 random people telling me, hi, Linda, I was reaching out. Could we do this together? Because I came top of mind. So I want to ask you today, are you coming top of mind for anyone because of the content that you're posting? Are you coming top of mind in terms of hiring, even in terms of being promoted? What are you doing to ensure that you're actually top of mind? Do you have maybe a weekly newsletter that you send out, some thoughts and opinions you send out on your tweets or your LinkedIn that shows people that, she's here, she's writing about these things. They think about you every Tuesday at noon when you send out maybe that newsletter. Number 2, lifelong learning. Don't give up on learning. If you don't know something, learn it. If you don't know it this year, if you start learning now, in 3 years, it will be equivalent to a degree. So lifelong learning is such a great skill that you can, try out for anything. Even if you don't know how to cook, don't say people from our home don't know how to cook. They don't know how to cook, but I'm going to learn how to cook. People in my home don't know technology, but I'm going to learn technology. I love the power. There's a book by Naval, and I'll write that on the chat. He talks about the power of compound interest, and says that the talents work in the same way, that if you don't know something today, but keep doing it for the next 3-4 years, that power of compound interest will just make you a professional. And it's the same as the power of 10,000 hours of practice. If you do 10,000 hours on one particular thing that you do, you get better at it. The third thing that I talked about slightly is tell your story. Don't let people tell your story for you. Tell your story. Just number one, if you have a bio, I have a bio in my email. If people ask me, Linda, can you come and speak? We need a picture of you. I'll send it in 5 minutes if I've seen the email and I have time, because it's already on a Word document. It's ready to be published. I don't have to explain to people again, yeah, Linda is this, yeah, she used to do this. So on a day that I'm feeling low, I will not tell my story so well. On the day I'm feeling really excited, I'll tell my story well. Don't make it that way. Write something about you, that bio that either goes on your website or it's just on your email, and go for a good photo shoot, that you take nice pictures. Don't post these funny pictures on LinkedIn. Those ones are for maybe Facebook, wherever, but the ugly pictures I post to my family group and tell them, yeah, look the way I'm looking bad. But the nice pictures is for everyone to feel like I am a very successful lawyer. And clients now know, okay, I can hire this girl because she's very successful. So you must have that picture and you must have that story. You can check out my LinkedIn. I have a standard bio that I posted. It's not perfect, but I think for me, it helps to really tell my story in that sense. I just posted the link there. So the final thing I'm gonna say, move in a pack. as a woman, you can't move alone. Move in a pack, so that when somebody attacks the pack, the entire pack will come and fight for you. So have your tribe. I personally feel that has really helped me, you know, from the pack that I went with to school, you know, people who stand up for me and tell me, you know, and now I feel, you know, as you grow and the more years of practice you get, your peers are also progressing in life. Now they're the registrar, they're becoming, you know, a commissioner. So that means that this pack can stand up for each other, and you can begin to tell a client, yeah, I can do this thing in 2 days. And they're like, I don't want a corrupt lawyer. And I say, I'm not corrupt. I simply just know who's making the decision. And so they're able to come through for me. So I want to ask you today, who's your pack and who's your tribe? Can you move with them? Are there people in campus you are with that you can move along with, people you worked at the same law firm? You know, can you move as a pack with them that they will help you? And also as women, if you have this chama, in Kenya we call it a chama, like, you know, a way you come in together and contribute money monthly and meet up. Don't make it just about fashion and lipstick and drinking. You know, just look at ways in which you can move in a pack and say, can we this year maybe do a master's degree? Can we this year maybe write a paper together? Can we look for a journal that we can get our opinions heard? You know, that would really, really help. And I would want to say this, we barely get stories from Africa. I have a white person I met a few years ago, and this is what he told me. He told me that Africans do too much and tell too little of their stories. White people come here, do very little, but they tell their story in a great way. Last week in Kenya, there's a startup founder who raised $1 million to deliver food for people in Kenya, traditional food. And people are doing that. Mama Mboga is doing that, you know, but they don't know how to tell their story. They don't know how to move in a pack. These people know who are the ones who own, you know, who own the capital. So I want to encourage you. How can you tell your story? Can you start blogging? Even if it's just a one-pager, can you begin to tell that story so that if somebody searches lawyers in Uganda, you come up. And one of the things I did, you know, in 2013, 14, I put up something on immigration lawyers in Kenya. And so if somebody was looking for an immigration lawyer in Kenya, they would most probably find me because I was practicing immigration law then, you know. And so how do you position yourself in such a way that you're not looking at the pie to just be Uganda or Kenya? If you do that, you're going to be fighting women all around you. You know, so how do you ensure that you enlarge this pie, that anybody who's coming from Europe would ideally look for you and collaborate with you in that sense? People, you know, ping us from, you know, our website and say, I read this article from the Lawyers Hub. I'd want us to co-bid and go for this consultancy together. I have got those things. And why did it happen? We simply just put ourselves out there. We're not the most professional. We are not the brightest, but we decided that, you know what? We must tell our story. Eventually the story becomes true because we are not con men. This is my last comment from the many last things I was trying to say. I want to just share something that happened this week. I applied for, you know, somebody sent me, you know, a call for proposal and said, Lina, you need to apply for this thing, or, you know, let us know who from Kenya would be able to do this work. And so I thought about it, and then eventually 2 hours to the end of, you know, to the closeout time, I told my colleague, help me apply for this thing. So we applied for it and said, you know what, I'm just doing this out of respect for the person who sent it to me. So anyway, a few days ago, I opened my email and I see, congratulations, you've gotten this consultancy. I'm like, which consultancy? I think, which one did I even apply for? I couldn't even remember. So I go back to read the terms of the consultancy because now I want to find out how much is it? Because, you know, I didn't even think about it. But then it hit me that we don't see ourselves, we see ourselves in terms of, you know, of our inadequacies. You start seeing that. I think personally for me, I wanted to do a master's degree in legal technology. It wasn't available at the time I wanted to do it, you know, and then I got kids in the process. I have 2 kids. So I just didn't have time to do that master's degree. Then I ran a startup. Running a startup is crazy. You barely have any money left, you know, to even pay for your education. And then I had this whole, you know, I romanticized the idea of going to Harvard and Oxford, you know, and so you don't want to just go to Makerere or Moi University or Nairobi University. You want the best. So I never did my master's degree. And so one day I get a consultancy and they want me to have my master's degree. And I told these guys, I cannot apply for this thing. And people told me, you're going to be the lead. You have the experience. You don't have had to credentialize it. And so today I want to ask you to think through, what do you consider your weakness that makes you not go for these things? Just begin to work on it, but apply in spite, despite of what that thing is, go for it, because men are just working with confidence. It's like driving. Everyone has a driver's license. It's the most confident people who get on the road. So I ask you today to have some confidence and go for those opportunities that exist. Sorry, I took too much time, but I hope you learned something.
Thank you, Linda. That was awesome. Thank you, Linda. We've learned a lot from you. The books you dropped are awesome, and there's so many questions hitting up. But many would like to know, they're your big fans. I see Fiona wants to know what you're doing to help the women in the tech area. There's so many questions. Most are interrelated, but I'll let Linda answer that one, and the rest we shall harmonize them after the next speaker. So Linda, what are you doing to help the women in the tech world?
Okay, I don't think I am a very helpful person, so I will not, talk of how, gracious I am. I'm not sure I would do that, but I think because it's really hard to be a woman and an entrepreneur. So I really get it. So one of the things that I'd say this, I just spoke about this to a friend a few minutes ago, and so it comes top of mind. There's this lady called, she's Atieno Ogola, the lawyer. She's a Kenyan lawyer, and I admire everything that she does. So one of the things I saw when she was starting out was she just didn't have a space to shoot her videos. And so the lawyers have opened up a space to her and told her, you're creating so much content, you come in and get your videos done here. I've seen the way, her venture has evolved now. People are following her, and I find that really, really inspiring. And, I'm glad that, we could at least do something tiny in her journey. The other thing that I do is I hire women, without any sort of apology. I told you we are 80% of the Lawyers Hub. We see, the need to really have women at positions of power. And I usually say, if a woman is not going to hire another woman, most times the men will not, and if the men want to hire her, which is so unfortunate in this industry, is maybe they're hiring her because she's so pretty and they just want to sleep with her. They want to have her in close proximity. And so I really try my best to get, women to that level. But then also the second thing I realize is young women, especially young women lawyers, need experience, which is lacking. One of the people who really inspired me in this profession, she's called Joy Mdivo. She's a lawyer in Kenya. In 2010, she invited me to start, teaching on the Constitution. And she taught me so much about presenting myself, speaking to large crowds, and, and teaching them this thing. So I find that, associating myself with such women, older women, helps me to learn from them, but then also with younger women to open doors for them. At the Lawyers Hub, what we try to do with our female employees is to drive them to be on panels. So one of the things I tell them on day one is the Lawyers Hub will hire you to go represent us on panels, because that's where we tell our story and that's where we offer our thought leadership. And so I'm really excited when they come in and tell me, what, I was at RightsCon, I spoke at a global event on legal technology, some of them have won awards. And so that's, for me, I think is really fulfilling, but I can't boil the ocean. I can't change the whole world, and so I haven't done anything mega in that sense.
Thank you, Linda. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. So ladies, who is in your pack? Do you have a pack? Are you moving as a pack? Linda is out there telling you, are you coming on top of people's mind? Let's do something about it. Let's not sit and whine all day. We can build people's mind. Thank you, Linda, for sharing. So we'll ask the next questions after our next presenter. So Florida Kavasinga, our next presenter is the gorgeous Florida. She has over 20 years of legal practice all the way in Rwanda, doing great things. And we would like to hear from you, Florida. How has it been then compared to now? What is your feeling about it? Under your 20 years in the legal field, what gains have you made so far? And what is it before and after? How does that look for you? Thank you, Florida, and we welcome you this afternoon.
Thank you so much. I'm really, really, really excited to be part of this. But whoever decided that I would speak after Linda, I really need to. Oh, wow, Linda, I'm very excited to be. I mean, I think you were on a panel I was on in Rwanda some time back, but what a great What a great motivational speech you've been making, and of course Fiona Wall as well. There's something that I want to lead with that Praise talked about, women not being supportive of other women in the workplace. Honestly, I think sometimes it's not about women trying to pull others down as much as sometimes it's an issue of women knowing the challenges that a woman faces and wanting to push them to work harder, because we are starting from a point of view of a much weaker position. We are new and we have to prove ourselves. So sometimes women think that they need to be cut some slack, a lot of it, just because they are women. We don't have that luxury as of now. I mean, in the future, this will be probably not as big of an issue as where we are. And I want to tie that into my experience in the last 20 years in the legal field. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I had a baptism of fire. Growing up, I never thought, that I was hugely disadvantaged just because I was a woman or born female. And then I get to the workplace. I'm a young woman in a multi-national kind of environment, an international environment where you had people from all kinds of races. You have older women, you have older men, you have all kinds of people, Africans, Europeans, Americans, and it comes with all the attendant issues of race, of gender, and all of that. So you show up in this kind of workplace, you think you're a newly minted lawyer, you're super smart, you're ready to work, you have all the tools that you're going to use, and then all of a sudden you get a dampener because people are trying to put you in a certain box and make sure that you stay in that lane which they've created for you. So for me, I was working with the UN in that boiling environment with all these different kinds of aspects. And being young and straight from, uni with a master's degree and all of that, you find that you're working with colleagues who expect you to fulfill certain things that are not really what you're planning to do with your career. They expect you to carry their files. They expect you to go fetch coffee, to do the printing. But this is where that women and young girls at the beginning of their careers have to be deliberate on what they want to do. Because the moment you allow people to define you, the moment you allow people to put you in a certain box and you do what they expect of you in that way, that's where you might stay for a long time. So first of all, you need to know who you are, where you're going with your career. And when people try to fix me up in that sense of you're in an environment where you have hotshot lawyers from, America and the US, Europe and all of these places who think they know better than you and they're smarter than you. They won't let you do legal work because they think you're not up to scratch. You just make sure that you're firm, you're not rude, but you're firm. If somebody asks you to fetch their coffee for them, you politely inform them where the coffee station is and just make sure you're not boxed into that. So I'll give you an example of an incident which I went through. I'd been working for about 3 years and I was a case manager on a team in the prosecution office. And 3 years of straight out of school doing case management, I thought was good enough for me now to start going back to doing proper legal prosecutorial work, which is where I wanted to be. But in order to do that, I needed to be a member of a bar association. I could have asked the chief prosecutor to do a special dispensation for me to take witnesses in court and do other work, but I didn't want to do that simply because I didn't want people to think that I was being given a favor. So what I did is that I looked for one of the toughest bar schools in the world. So I went to New York just because I wanted to prove myself, and I passed it the first time round. So I came back with my paper and told the chief prosecutor, now can you give me legal work? So what I'm trying to say is that do not think that you're going to be cut a lot of slack just because you're a woman. Do what needs to be done to make sure that you're getting all these things that you deserve on merit. And so having done that, despite that, because I was from Rwanda and we're doing work for the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, people expected me to simply do interpretation and translation for them, not legal work. So I had an experience where I was being told, you need to come and assist me with my witness, and after we interview a witness, for example, in prep, like one of the senior lawyers would leave their file and go outside for a smoke. And of course I would come outside as well because we were done with the work. And then she said to me, and this was a woman, which goes to what Praise was talking about earlier. She looks at me and she's like, where is my file? And I looked at her and said, where you left it. So you have to be absolutely firm with what you're doing. And from then on, she never expected me to carry her files, and nobody else. And of course you'd get things like, you people from Rwanda, we know you don't take nonsense. People try to box you in, but this is who you are. You have somewhere that you're going. So for the first 10 years of my career, I was in that environment, and I think my colleagues knew that I wouldn't take things that were not what I wanted to do in the next few years. So after those 10 years, because I knew I had been young, I was creating an experience. You take time to create a lot of experience that will stand you well. I came back to Rwanda, actually resigned from the UN just simply because I wasn't getting what I thought I should be getting from my career. I thought I had exhausted what I could do in the international criminal law space. So I came back to Rwanda, and I decided to open a law firm. I could easily have gone to one of the other law firms, maybe run by men and all of that, but I decided there's a certain way I wanted to do things. And so I opened a law firm. In Rwanda today, like Fiona said, the statistics now on women and in spaces like, corporate spaces, banking and all these things that were normally male dominated. Right now, the environments are good. Government has put in place policies that allow women to get into these spaces. But we need to absolutely be deliberate in where we want to go. I've been given opportunities to run companies just because I'm a woman and I knew I don't have that experience. I'm not even passionate about it. I have declined these opportunities. I would have gotten a lot of money and all of that. But what I'm trying to say is that decide what you want to do. Make sure that you have plans of where you want to be. Sometimes, you're going to meet challenges, but are you ambitious enough to pivot? My experience before I came here was in international criminal law for 10 years. But right now I am mostly a corporate lawyer. How did that happen? I came here and I knew that I had no experience in this field, but I put in the effort. I worked hard, I studied, I did pro bono commercial cases and all of that, just simply to create the experience. So when you're ambitious, that's something that women need to know. You don't have to be apologetic about it. You know where you're going to be. Earlier, I think it was one of the other presenters talked about being on boards and how effective women are. We do a lot of work. We have, I think I saw even in the questions, somebody asked, how do you juggle marriage responsibilities, family responsibilities and work? I think you just simply have to plan things in order to be able to not, you're juggling too many balls just to make sure none of them falls. So for example, on the boards that I'm on a board of, for example, a bank and another huge multinational corporation. So I read board papers at night before the meetings. So I'm up all night while probably the male board members are asleep. So when I come to the board the following day, I'm not going to be joking around because I've spent my time putting in the work at night while everybody else is probably resting. So that is how we become effective. So put in the work, and I don't think anybody will, it will be obvious. The other thing that we need to know as women, in order to be hired, all these things are profit oriented. Nobody is going to give you work if you're not effective. Having connections and being given a leg up because you're a woman is a shoe in, but it's not something that keeps you at that level. It doesn't keep you up there. So you need to absolutely work hard to look at your environment, to be the first to do certain things. For example, if you look at your environment, what are the areas of practice that are going to be very key in the following couple of years? In Rwanda, for example, it's going to be things like sports law. It's going to be data protection and all of that. It's going to be things like environmental law. It's going to be things like aviation law. What are women doing in order to position themselves to be in those spaces? So we need to be thinking like men. Don't put, even when you're married, by the way, you're married, your husband is only focused on their career, but you are putting priority on other things and expecting your career to keep shooting up. So we need to know that we are working with one arm tied behind our backs, but how do we compensate? And how are we lifting women up? I think I'll stop there unless there are questions because of time.
Thank you, Florida. Thank you. Florida is saying, do not think anybody's gonna cut you any slack. Work will us all the way to the top. Do not think favors are going to come your way. Work hard, ladies. We all have the capacity to do that. Thank you, Florida. So I'm going to invite Ms. Annabelle to take over the 5 or 6 questions that were left hanging, and any other question for Ms. Florida. Thank you so much, our panelists. They're doing very well. And thereafter, I'll pick at random for the next question. It will be interactive, and I'll pick people on the participant list randomly and get everybody talking. Thank you. And I welcome you, Annabelle, to take the next session.
Thank you, Mariam. I would like to thank everyone that is present today, the participants. We are over 100. I'm really glad that you're all here and you keep increasing in number. So I'm going to go straight to some of the questions that were asked. We're just going to break them down. We'll answer a few now, and then we shall go straight to the question that Mariam wanted to ask, which was meant for Sabrina, who's not available, and then we'll dig into other questions. So our first question now is, well, let me see. Most of them are comments, so I'm going to try and sieve out. Okay, so there is this one question: how do women manage to balance between home and work? Oh, I think this has been answered by Florida, so I'm going to skip it.
Can I say something on that, if you don't mind?
Okay, no problem.
Okay, my answer is outsource. Like, I don't know why we don't like to outsource. And there's a story I read about this man, you know, whose mom was sick, and the mom was living with him and his wife. And so the man used to, the lady used to do so much work to keep, you know, the mother-in-law okay. And so the wife died in a car crash. And so everybody was concerned for this man, that he was now left a widower. He had, like, you know, 3 children. His mom was sick, what he was doing. And so this lady's friends went to his house to say sorry to him and to see how they could help. So when they arrived, the man told them that, no, I can't even have visitors now. I'm not going out for golf. So that's the reason why we thought you'd be overwhelmed and you'd be like your wife, who never showed up for Chama and for church because she was always busy. And he said, no, I had 2 new house helps. One is taking care of the children, one is taking care of my mom, and another is cleaning the house. And so I think for me, I learned from that can you create employment for other people? The things you can't pass, you don't have to, there's no personal touch. Please learn to outsource them so that you can actually have free time. And sometimes we say we don't have money to outsource, but I think outsourcing makes you make more money. And somebody asked this about what's the value of your hour. If your hour is $100 and it costs maybe $50 to hire somebody else to, you know, it costs $50 to have somebody clean up, pay this person $50, remain with the other $50, and just go and make your nails and look good. So I think for me, my new mantra is outsource so that you just don't die young, because many women are suffering. You're trying to balance everything. I think parenting cannot be outsourced. Being someone's companion cannot be outsourced. But the rest of the stuff, the people who want fresh food every day from the fridge, you know, I'm sorry. If it can be available on Sundays and the weekends, that's okay. But I think don't tire yourself and die, and then the people you're struggling for will come in and spend your wealth in a day, or they will come and hire 3 house helps.
Can I add something to that? Recently, yes, thank you. Recently, I was speaking to female lawyers here in Rwanda, and it became very interesting because everybody was wondering how you have enough time to go buy the groceries in the market, you have time to go buy the gas, you have time to go. And I said to them, listen, for me, I have created a system where everything works without my intervention. I have the number of the guy who gives me gas. I have somebody who is in the market who I just send a list on one day of the week. I have all these people, to me, are very key in my life, probably more than my colleagues at work, because they make my life run better. And I've created a system where when I have meetings that are going to be outside of my office, I make sure they're in the morning, so that when I drop off my kids, I go straight into those meetings and then I get to the office. And when I'm at the office, I am at the office, and then all the meetings that are scheduled come after a certain time. So that my life is almost like a well-oiled machine, because if I have clients that are abroad and all of that, we all know in North America and all of that, people wake up like 3 p.m. on my time and all of that. So if I have calls, they are scheduled from 3 p.m. up to a certain time. Everything for you to succeed in life, you have to create systems. Just sit down, look at your life, create a system that is going to assist you. It's not, what Linda was saying is true. You don't have to kill yourself trying to do everything, because you can't. There's no single human being who can actually succeed in doing that, let alone, women who are suffering with pregnancy and maternity leave and all of that. So, but once, there's something else that has always been, maybe let me ask as well. Childbirth and all of these things where you need to have to go maternity leave and what have you, most of them don't happen by accident. We can plan these things sometimes as well. If it's about prioritizing. If it happens to you, you have to be able to pivot and look at another way of doing things that you want to do. So I think it's about planning, but we need to be deliberate. You don't sit around and feel sorry for yourself. And when you're in an environment which is professional, my own personal go-to feeling is that I don't see myself, first of all, as a woman. I see myself as a lawyer, a professional, because if you work hard and you're exceptional, things come to you. I have clients who have rosters of even male lawyers who are very good, but certain important things are brought to me. Why? Because they know I'll give them the attention they deserve compared to the men, because women, naturally, we are detail oriented. So look at your strength and focus on it and make sure you're known for that. Then things will come to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Florida, for sharing that.
Thank you, Florida.
Another.
Yes, I'm seeing a lot of questions to do with Girls for Girls. I can't answer all of them. I happen to be a mentor of Girls for Girls. I'm going to add my number in that chat, and then you will just WhatsApp me, and I can forward you the link, or answer most of that. At least I can try and answer the questions in regards to Girls for Girls, but it's open to everyone, not just for lawyers, and I will share the link. Our next question is from Gloria Matovu. Gloria, you're very welcome. Her question is, how do we enhance women focusing on the right aspects of fellow women in the workspace? While it's not in doubt that they're having women in senior positions. Oh, it's not very clear, but okay. The question is, how do we enhance women focusing on the right aspects of fellow women in the workspace? Do we have anyone who's going to answer?
Can I answer that?
Yes, please.
This is Fiona. So I like this question because yes, sometimes you're going into an evaluation or you need another woman to speak for you and they talk about how pretty you are and how kind you are and all these other factors. And then a man comes in and they talk about how effective he is with his goals and, So I think as women, we need to deliberately change our language when in the boardroom, because you find that, and this really goes to adapting to the environment that you're in. If you are a female boss and you have young ladies, what are you going to promote for them to grow? I was very impressed when somebody asked on the panel here that what are the strengths men have that women should train themselves in? I think that if I was a boss of a young lady, I would try to encourage her to build on her strengths while getting other goals because other talents and skills on board, because one of the things that defeats us is our language when we're talking to other women or talking about other women. So let's look at goal-orientedness. Let's look at ability to meet targets. Let's look at timekeeping. Let's look at creating systems, being self-motivated. Instead of saying she's honest, say she has integrity, you know, because this is language that speaks to the person that cares about the bottom line. They don't want to know how honest you are, but they want to know that they can trust you with their business. So I think we have to be intentional as professional women, and I hope that we'll have more of these sessions. Thank you so much, Mariam and team, in order to, you know, to change, adjust our language so that it's relevant.
Mariam?
Yes, Annabella?
I think we can now handle Sabrina's question.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I wanted, for the next question, I wanted to give an opportunity. I mean, we have 115 participants. Would like to hear from anyone randomly. Feel free to raise your hand, your virtual hand, and participate in the next question. So our next question is, we want someone to share tips for women on how they have succeeded in larger scale corporations and internal setting. How have you succeeded? Anybody wants to share some tips from our participants before I take it to the panelists for a discussion?
Mariam?
Yes, please.
Mariam, before the panelists come in, I've seen a very important question. This it's more so a comment, and it's for a gentleman. Why I'm bringing it up is he's the first gentleman to actually say anything. So I thought it would be helpful, at least nice for me to read out what his comment was. His name is Peter Mjimba. He's a partner at Alliance Advocates, and he's saying he's learning a lot from this webinar. And he's thanking the panelists, and he thinks it's okay to belong to a pack. It's very important that you stand out. Much as it is okay, I think, it's okay for you to belong in a pack. It's very important that you stand out alone. You don't have to move in a pack. Standing out alone exhibits independent mindset, and this is a perspective from a gentleman. I think it's important that we put it out there. We didn't have a male panelist today, so it would really be helpful to hear what the gentlemen present today have to say or comment about this. So please feel free to send in your comments and your questions.
I see people's hands up. There are 2 attendees. Sorry, from my dashboard, I can't see. Can you unmute, please, and answer that question? Share some tips for women to succeed in larger scale corporations. Yes, Agnes Sivaita, kindly.
Sharaza. Good afternoon. Thanks, Miriam, and the team that has organized this. And thank you to the panelists, Fiona, Linda, Florida. Hi. It's a pleasure being here. I'm Agnes Sivaita Sharaza. I'm the Corporation Secretary at the NSSF, and I'm always very excited to be part of these discussions. I'm not going to answer the question, although Annabelle has kind of touched on what I wanted to say. We have heard from our colleagues, expert views shared, very amazing tips shared on how we can help ourselves as ladies to succeed in a largely male-dominated world. Now, my observation over the time is that we need the men to join us. We need the men, we need male advocates, we need male voices. So when I said Annabella touched on what I wanted to say, for a session like this, it would have been very good to have a gentleman or two, you know, speaking and reiterating and reaffirming us, but reiterating our message. It makes such a huge difference. For those of you who may know the late Mr. Badagawa, may his soul rest in peace, he was such an advocate. There are few, but I've realized that society tends to stop and listen when the males advocate for our cause. When we do so on our own, we are labeled feminists, we are labeled victims, and all sorts of things. So my request and just point of emphasis is that whenever possible, let's identify these male advocates and bring them on board. So Miriam and your team, next time, have a guy on the panel. Let them help us to advocate these causes. Otherwise, we've had very wonderful tips from the ladies. Ladies, thank you so much for sharing. It's very refreshing and enlightening. Thank you, team.
Thank you, Agnes. Those were we'll put that in advisement, and we're already considering it. We're encouraging them not to be intimidated and shy away from such forums. So let me invite Miss Judith Nandase. Please share your tips. Tell us who you are and where you're from. Judith Nandase, kindly unmute. Judith Nandase, Judith.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Yeah, for me, my point is we have always had women speaking about empowering each other, but when you reach out to women, it's very hard for us to be helped. Yet, when you reach out to men, they really do help in a hurry. So, how could we handle that? And Linda, thank you so much. You've really enlightened us. I've learned a lot, and I really appreciate all the panelists that have contributed today. Yeah. Also, I also wanted to raise an issue of women in deep villages. How will we be able to help the women in deep villages? We as upcoming young women who would like to also be like you guys, we don't have the ability right now. So how can we reach you? Yet there are very high points that are around you. We cannot reach you. So which advice would you give us? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Judith. Those are some good questions. Thank you. Judith wants to know how will you hold her hand? People deep in villages. How are you able to help? Judith, I'll just share just a few tips before I pass on to any of the panelists who would like to answer that question. I think it's always good as women, we need to get mentors. Get somebody to mentor you in the field in which you want to specialize. Get a mentor. And importantly, understand who you are, know your capacity and potential, and don't be afraid to touch the ceiling, because you have capacity to do so. So believe more in yourself. And another thing that has helped me over the years is to upskill. Many women tend to study and just don't upskill and sit back and think the world owes them any favors. The world doesn't owe you a favor if you don't do best in those footings that you're looking to enrich. So it's always good to upskill, because when you see opportunities out there, fortune favors the fortunate, you'll be able to grab them with both hands. So I hope I've tried to answer that question. I don't know who else wants to help on the panel to help Judith. However, I'll move on to the next person if there's no one. Linda?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the kind words. And I was gonna just respond to, everything that's been said. And, my view, even from, I think what Agnes said, my view is that 2 points. One, we generalize women, and then we specify men. There are bad men out there, and there are bad women out there. It's a human thing. And so we can't entirely just say that women are bad, they don't support other women. It's some women don't support other women. And some men also don't support women, or they support them wanting something from them. And so I think it's just a human nature. But what can we then do is to really tell the stories of women who are helping other women, and, give them their flowers, appreciate them for the stuff that they're doing in that sense. And also the men who really support women. That's a really great point to note. But then also the fear of being branded. I think these fears just make us feel inadequate as women every time. Like you feel like they need to be accepted, you know. And I had this discussion with someone and we realized that actually to be told that you're beautiful or handsome as a lawyer feels like an insult sometimes, because it's like the ugly, fierce lawyers are the ones, male lawyers are the ones who do well, you know, in that sense. So I wonder why the rest of maybe women, we take a lot of time really feeling inadequate about ourselves, yet it's like the client wants an ugly, old, you know, lawyer who looks experienced in that sense. But having said that, the second thing, we don't need validation as much, even for these forums. And I think this used to happen a lot when we were starting out at the Lawyers Hub. Sometimes you come into a meeting and they're just women, and they feel like there needs to be a man to validate why we are gathered here. And it also happens with Black people, that if a white person is taking that product, then it looks like it's a legitimate, you know, product in that sense. I think we just need to be comfortable enough to meet in our spaces. If people call you a feminist, I say this usually, I go to bed with myself every day. I know who I am. You know, I know exactly whether I'm a feminist or not, whether I love being a feminist or not, you know. So we need to move from these things that society puts you in a mold. And we also see that look at the, when nudes are leaked online, you know, where your video maybe of somebody, like in Kenya happened last week, somebody's naked, you know, it goes on social media. For a woman, your life will stop, you will never show up anywhere. But for a man, his political career has just begun, you know, and society excuses him for all these things. So I think we need to sometimes really take that whole mind frame that men have, that whatever you think about me, that's your business. At the end of the day, I know that I'm honest. I know I have integrity regardless of what people say. And I think that whole confidence just takes you to the next level, because society, you think they're thinking about you. They don't think about you at all. You know, they're thinking about themselves and their interests and the positions they want. So just be a person that really is in themselves validated. It doesn't matter whether you're with someone or not. And I think the point about moving in a pack is important just for cooperation and collaboration. If you see maybe the work that personally I try to do, I don't do things alone. I try to get another organization that has the same interest. If you apply for a concert, a bid or something, if you can apply with a friend, get together or apply as companies, they will always give you priority when there's like a consortia involved in that sense. But I also believe in being an individual that is set, you know, in the things that you believe, you're open-minded enough to change your mind. But then, you know, self-esteem is the single reason why we even have teenage pregnancies, that women just feel inadequate, that if they love you, they have to give all of them, you know, all of themselves. I say this, and I attended Tech Women, which is a really great program. And the first thing that they taught us was, what are the biases that affect women, that even subconsciously, you're trying to prove yourself as a woman that, yeah, I'm beautiful, yeah, I can make it, but you're not doing it the right way. So I just pray that we become confident enough to say, I am enough, I'm validated. If I show up, I am validated enough. Men don't have to show up for that meeting for it to begin, you know, or for them to be chairperson. Fiona has shown us as president, you can be female and you can be a president. And I think for all of us today, let's feel validated enough in our own spaces without necessarily wanting, you know, male attention. Because even in politics, they'll ask you, who are you married to? You know, so that they can vote for you. You know, if it's at work, they'll want to talk to a male colleague. And that has happened even for me at the Lawyers. That people call me and say, where's the CEO? I want to talk to the CEO. I'm like, I'm the CEO. You know, and so sometimes now they want to talk to a male voice, then they feel that it's actually validated. And so when the opportunity comes for that, I will always refer to my colleague and say, yeah, he's male, you talk to him. But the money will still come back to our pocket. So I think just be stubborn enough to be confident to work in the things that you desire.
Thank you, Linda.
Something to that?
Yes, Florida. Yes, please.
So I've heard a lot about this thing that women are not, women at the top are not supporting women at the bottom. But you do know as well the opposite of that. Women saying that women at the top got there because of, you know, certain things like sleeping around and what have you. So this as well is something that women need to look into, attitudes. If a woman is ambitious and they're doing well and they're getting there, we all think they're not getting there just because of their ambition, just because they're good enough to be there. So we try to pull them down as well. So it's like Linda said, it's just bad people, not just women, bad people who just happen to be women doing that to each other. In terms of hiring and all of that, I can tell you, women, we need to check, and I think I'm saying this because we are talking among ourselves and reevaluating. We absolutely need to check our own attitudes when it comes to careers and professionalism. most women, okay, some women, let me not generalize, when they come to an interview, honestly, I don't know whether it's something that has been inculcated in us. We feel like we have to act a certain way in order to be hired, or, you know, kind of like you're saying, yes, I'm trained as a lawyer, but, you know, look at me, I have these other qualities that are not, you know, something that should be used to evaluate. I mean, I've conducted interviews and I'm clearly looking for a woman to hire. But all they're doing is, you know, showing me how, because on the panel, maybe there are men on there, and, you know, the attitudes that they come with, sometimes I just don't get impressed, because I'm thinking, you're a woman, do not come as a woman, come as a professional who shows, you know, what they're capable of doing. And when I find that woman who is unapologetically ambitious, I am very, very excited, and I have no reason why I shouldn't hire them. But being apologetic in the way we come towards, we approach our careers, really does not do us any favors. I have deliberately been trying to mentor young lawyers coming straight out of law school, through providing them with internships. And once I see, you know, they're really good, I actually link them up with mentors in the legal field that are going to assist them. But sometimes when you give them the opportunity and you say, start your internship tomorrow or the day after, they don't show up like for a week. And then, you know, you're thinking, this person is absolutely not serious. I need to look for someone else who is going to take the opportunity that is being handed to them. So while we are trying to succeed, we also need to check our own attitudes in approaching our careers and our profession.
Thank you, Florida. We still have some more time to hear from our participants. Fortunate Igambire Ralinda. Fortunate, come through with your comment or your tip. Yes, Fortunate, kindly unmute.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes, we can. Go ahead, Fortunate.
Thank you for organizing, and thanks to all the panelists for the tips that they've shared. They've all been very insightful. Mine is just a comment. I think there's a question earlier on what works for those in the corporate, and I think, oh, sorry, I didn't introduce myself. Fortunate Ngabe, I work with Airtel Uganda as a legal advisor. So I'll just share a few tips. One is to seize the opportunity once it's there. You know, usually they'll probably put a notice for a new job in a particular department, and you know you can do that job, but then you're afraid of going for it. So the tip here is, once the opportunity is there, please do seize it. Don't sit back and wait for someone to come and pull you out of your comfort zone. Then we need to know our value and purpose to bring that value to the table in our different workplaces. And then, of course, collaborations and finding our allies. Like someone was sharing previously, that even the men are allies that could actually lead us to our next step in our careers. Then plugging into a community that shares the same goals and dreams as us. I think I posted earlier about Girls for Girls. It's been one of those platforms for me. Once you get into the community, you'll find ladies who are pursuing their dreams unafraid. They are going for what they want, and they inspire you to your next level. So that is also one thing that we need to do, as opposed to continuously talking about the ladies that are pulling us down. Let's join communities where there are ladies who are actually supporting us. And then, of course, finding a mentor. And this is more like creating your own executive board. You know, like a company has a board of directors. So you now have your own board, people you go to advise you on certain things that you're trying to pursue here and there. Yeah, that's basically it from me. And thanks again for organizing. It's been very insightful.
Thank you, Fortunate. Thank you, guys. We want to stay in time with this webinar. So I'm going to invite our panelists to give us their parting shots. Let's start from Ms. Fiona, Madam Fiona Wall, your parting shots as we end this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mariam. I want to thank all the ladies. This has been such an amazing, educative moment for me. Hearing all the wisdom, seeing old friends like Florida, I think I went to the same primary school with Florida years back, and Linda. And one of the things that I would like to just leave with the room is there's so much that the world is going to throw at you. As Linda said, do not pressure yourself to be a winner at all the things. Get hacks that are going to help you win. Get champions, get people who are going to, we call them destiny helpers, people that you know. Somebody said, John Maxwell says that you're the average of the 5 people you spend time with. So spend time with the people you want to be like. Spend time reading, grow yourself, but also forgive yourself. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay not to have all the balls juggling at the same time, but figure out what's important to you and guard it jealously. The last thing I want to leave with you is guard your mental health. And I was reminded because of COVID and what it's doing to us, we're losing so many people. Then there's work, then there is bills, then there's so much. So guard your mental health. And I just want to recognize Fortunate. She is the one that's offering free mental health services to advocates as we speak. She's part of an organization in her other life. It's good to blow each other's trumpets when you can. So I hope the ELS will also take up her services. But please guard your mental health, because women are nurturers. You're looking after a whole organization, your family. There's so many people that need you alive and well. So do not go crazy when it comes to the working world. It's not the only world we're supposed to be relevant in. So just have grace for yourself, but know that even the sea starts with one drop. So be patient and at peace with yourself. But again, I love what Florida says. Do not be afraid to want big things. So remain ambitious. God bless you.
Thank you, Fiona. Thank you. Guarding mental health should be at the heart of everybody. We take care of everybody else, and sometimes we forget our own. Thank you, Fiona. Let me have Sandra. Some parting shots, Sandra. Sandra, yes.
Yes, I'm here, sorry. Thank you, all of you. I'll just say in short, I learned a lot from you, and I think we shall all keep learning as we heard, and especially now surround ourselves with women who already have experience, and keep sharing and keep learning, keep mentoring and coaching, and of course keep having confidence in ourselves. And as you said, look at the system which will help and make us able to do what we are supposed to do. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Let's keep mentoring. That's what Sandra is telling us. Thank you so much, Sandra.
You're welcome.
Let me invite my co-host, Annabelle. Let's hear your thoughts on the topic. Let's hear all you have to say. Don't go quiet. Yes, Annabelle, let's hear from you.
Well, my parting shots. First of all, I would like to thank the panelists for accepting our invites. We are truly grateful. For some, I reached out about a week ago, and they were really gracious enough to lend me their ear and their time and let me bug them with all my emails and all my WhatsApp messages. I'm truly sorry for that, but I'm grateful that you came through. I agree with a lot of people who made comments in regards to having to hear the male perspective, their opinion on leadership for women. I think that was an oversight on our end. And going forward, we're really going to work towards including more, at least a slot for male speakers to give us more of a male view of points. Yes. I thank you everyone for coming through, all the participants, everyone who has commented. I'm truly grateful. We may not have read out most of the comments, but the panelists have gone through all of them and answered most of them. So I hope if you have posted any questions and if you posted any question and has not been answered, please let us know, but they have been answered for most, at least in the chat section. So kindly go through. There are a few people asking about the Girls for Girls. Like my phone keeps binging, so I'm going to respond to everyone. I'm surely going to respond. I would not be the best person. I'm just a mentor, but I can connect you with someone who can guide you through the process. So I'm going to do that. Thank you for my host, Mariam, who I also bombarded with this role last minute. And thank you for taking on the challenge and for coming through like this for us. Thank you all.
Thank you, Annabelle. Judith is wondering, will the ladies come back? They've been so good. She has learned a lot. Thank you, Judith. We love it when people have some takeaways.
Yeah, we shall have them.
Thank you. So I'm inviting Florida Kavasinga. Can we hear your parting shots, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again for allowing me to be part of this. I too have learned a lot from the women that have presented and those that have provided comments. But I tell you, we are as strong as our weakest link. Let us try to hold each other up. Don't be afraid of being in a group with other ambitious women. So every time you try to do something, make sure you're mentoring, make sure you're assisting other women to get there, because no matter how good you are, if you're the only one that is shining, you're not going to be considered as the shining star in a bunch of, I don't know, I don't have the right word to say, but ambition is not a bad thing. It's a positive thing. Be ambitious, plan, have systems. It's not succeeding in life or in everything else is not rocket science. It's something you can work extremely hard towards. That's why even if there are so many men in the world, not all of them are up there as well. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. So let us just work to get there as well. We can do it. Believing in oneself is the first step towards that. If you think you are not supposed to be there, you're halfway to failing. So already mentally, if you're not there, you'll never get there. So let us hold each other up and mentor, young women. And the thing that was mentioned about involving men as well, for me, I would actually love to be to listen to men telling us why they don't hire women to be in these spaces, or why having women in these spaces is problematic, so that we know what we should be fixing. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
You do, you really do.
Thank you, Florida. Were you done with your parting shots?
I was.
Thank you. So I'm inviting Madam Linda Bonyo, the tech guru. People have loved you. People are excited. We're excited for all of you ladies. They're excited for how you hold their hand, all these interesting books you have left them to read, and they would love to hear your parting shots, Linda. Kindly share.
Thank you very much. And thanks for the invite. I think on books, I'm going to say, if you can, because we multitask a lot as women, listen to audiobooks. They save you a lot of the time. If you love a particular section, you can always slow down the speed. So for me, audiobooks really help. I can do a book in 4 days, which is, really, really good. Two, I was going to comment on the tech tools part. How do you save time? Because people are overworking themselves. I'd want to suggest use your calendar. Somebody once told me that the brain is for processing. It's not for remembering. And that changed my life, because I'd walk around the market remembering 2 eggs, 1 fish, like your brain is not for remembering. It's for processing. So it's supposed to process information, make a decision, and then let it move. So once you've made a decision, put it on your calendar and say, I'm meeting Linda on Monday. Add Linda's email, like if you use your Google Calendar, just add my email, for example, there, and invite me for a meeting at 2 o'clock. The calendar will remind, like you don't have to remember, oh, it's 1 o'clock, I need to call Mariam so that Mariam comes. No, just automate your life. It will be so easy. And as a woman, you won't be too overwhelmed. If you can use Typeform, for example, I find it as a really great product to do the little work. Like if maybe you're hiring, I see people doing too much work, you want to collect information at work, don't be on the call writing down, yeah, so you want 2 fish, you want 3 what? No, just put a form, send them a link. Everyone will send their form or whatever they need and then download that information so that you stop doing administrative work and you now are free for the top level work that can pay you more. The other thing I think I saw and thought about when we were speaking here is about apologizing before you talk. I also did it as well. We do this, I apologize for wearing a hoodie. And then nobody noticed even you're in a hoodie maybe. So when you get into a room, don't apologize that I just have something small to say. It's not something small, it's something important. Don't apologize for your voice. Don't apologize, just simply say your point so that people don't see you as small, you're great. The other thing I'm gonna say is the emotional part we've talked about here, that women are emotional. I've found exercise to really help in balancing emotions, you know. That was the natural way God gave us to, you know, to balance the hormonal stuff. So if you can take time to walk around, run, take a physical activity, it really helps to ensure that you think through things and not be angry at people at work. You know, get into some exercise routine. It will always help clear your mind so that you look at people for who they are and not the emotional baggage that you bring into the room. The final thing I would want to leave you with, I would want to say this. When you go into a room and a woman makes a point, repeat the point she said. There's one staff member from Obama's, you know, White House. She said within their White House, one of the things they would say is, if a woman makes a point and says, I think we need to set up this business in Kampala, then the other woman would say, as Linda has mentioned that we need to take this to do this thing in Kampala, that means that people actually recognize the point you have made and they amplify the voices of women in the room. So if you can do that for another woman and to ensure that you're not the only woman in the room, then you'll actually move with many other women to the spaces that you'll be sent into. Please come for the Africa Law Tech Festival. I've posted the link on the chat. It's free of charge. You'll learn so much about technology and digital policy. Just go on the website and register. If you can share with your friends and share the stories that we're doing, I would really appreciate. And my phone number and my WhatsApp is on the chat. So I hope to see you all there in 10 days. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you. Those were strong parting shots. Thank you so much, ladies. I would like to end with a quote from Drucker Peter. He says, "Culture is strategy for breakfast." I always use that to adapt in all of my areas of life. Let us incorporate culture, incorporate these points, incorporate lifestyle changes. Let us incorporate diversity. Ladies that are in top businesses, encourage yourselves and others to create space for their sisters, especially if they're qualified to do so. Let us adopt the culture and it will become a lifestyle for each one of us. So thank you so much. I want to thank our president of the East Africa Law Society, Mr. Bernard Owundo, for looking at the females and recognizing the, I think he's on. Is that our president, ELS? Yes. Mr. Bernard Owundo, are you on? I'm seeing someone logged on as ELS president.
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
you see?
Yes, I am. Yes,
So we'll let you talk before we close the webinar.
Yes.
All right.
I was about to close it. Let us invite our
president,
Mr. Bernard Owundo, that gave ladies a platform to share all their insights on a monthly series. So let's welcome our one and only president, Bernard Owundo.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mariam. And thank you first to the committee of the women lawyers of East Africa. Thank you. You're doing an amazing job. Every month we have a webinar where you're focusing on women issues, and I'm so happy. I've received so many messages for people getting inspired, and I think that is what we should be doing as leadership. I want also to take this opportunity to thank all the panelists. President Wall, Fiona, thank you so much. Linda Bonyo, thank you so much. I may not be able to mention all the names. Miss Florida Kabasinga, thank you so much. Miss Sandra, thank you so much. I think there's one missing. I don't know whether she got off. She could have gotten off. Thank you so much. I am really grateful to you, and I'm sure this conversation has inspired so many ladies out there, and I'm looking forward to more webinars where we can be able to share our story so that we can pull one another up. Thank you so much, Mariam, for giving me the opportunity to say something. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard. Well, we needed another male and in this webinar, and we are happy you've been following all along. Thank you so much. Thank you, CEO ELS, Mr. David Segano. You're doing great things, and the whole secretariat. Thank you for everyone who's put this together. Our panelists, thank you for making it to this webinar. Annabelle, my co-host, you've been excellent and brilliant. Thanks, everybody. I've closed it a little early because I needed you to sit back and let all these good points marinate for the rest of the evening. So thank you once again, and live at will. And I wish you a very good evening. Bye-bye.